and dudettes. How are you guys? This is Chazzy, and today let's talk about a movie that I saw some time ago on Netflix, a very good movie called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, which probably takes the world record for the longest name of a movie ever. Why? Couldn't you just call it, like, I don't know, Bundy? Anyway, to those of you unfamiliar with it, it is a movie that depicts a little bit of the life of Ted Bundy, you know, who is probably the most infamous and worst serial killer that's ever lived, you know. And if you guys aren't familiar with Ted Bundy, just look him up later or go watch his documentary on Netflix, you know, Conversations with a Killer. It's very informative and very interesting. Now, this movie here sort of shows us a little bit of the backstory, you know, of a certain point in his life where he was, you know, on his killing spree and already being considered a suspect here and there, you know. And this movie takes us a little bit behind the scenes of all of his trials and shows us his relationship with Liz Parr, his girlfriend at the time, you know. And anyway, I think that, see, when it comes to Ted Bundy, I mean, it's very good for you guys to stay informed, you know, because I research a lot in my spare time, especially about things like this, you know, not because it intrigues me or because I'm curious, but because I just want to know. I want to know, wait a second, this guy was one of the worst serial killers in American history. Why? What did he do? So I go to research it and I, you know, look it up a little more deeply and I start finding out things, you know. So I think that just knowledge in itself, you know, gives me more, I don't know, it just makes me feel more intelligent, you know. So even if it's a topic like this, I want to know more about it. This movie was interesting to me because I had already done a lot of research on Ted Bundy, you know. I had already seen his documentary on Netflix. So watching this movie, seeing him depicted in such a way was actually very intriguing to me. And he was played by Zac Efron, of all people. And I get that Zac Efron is actually a very good actor, you know. He's come a long way since his High School Musical days, but it was still very weird seeing somebody who I saw playing Troy Bolton in High School Musical all of a sudden playing the worst serial killer ever. But anyway, I think that the performances that with him and Lily Collins playing Liz Parr were actually very good. There were other actors, you know, involved, but the main story was actually focused on both of them, you know. The dynamic between them was really good. The chemistry was awesome. The movie starts out on a pretty innocent note, you know. Ted meets Liz at a bar, then he takes her home, and then she has a daughter, and then he doesn't want to leave anyway, you know. She's like, "Look, are you gonna bail on me just because I have a kid?" He's like, "No, it's all good. It's all good, you know." So they lay down in bed together, you know, they have a nice night. The next morning he's there making breakfast for her and her daughter. Everything seems picture perfect, you know. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. But if you know the story of Ted Bundy, you know how that ends, you know. You know that after a while the investigations start, you know, the disappearances begin, the murders and girls just going missing, you know. And then Ted starts getting added to the list of suspects, you know. It's a very intricately woven story, and I think that the way that the movie depicts this was very spot on. This is a very good movie. It's a very good movie, you know. And though I think that everything about it was just done very brilliantly, you know. Everything was well shot, it was well edited, the actors were really good in their roles, and it showed you a lot of Ted Bundy without actually showing you the more graphic depictions of violence that he was known for, you know. It showed a lot of it's sort of like it was like reenactments, you know, of the more famous scenes of his, like when he was pointing a finger at a judge in court, you know, they actually reenacted that in the movie with the same angles and everything, you know. Everything was really well done. Ted Bundy, Zac Efron doesn't really bear too much of a striking resemblance to Ted Bundy, but still, he really pulled off a great reenactment of how the character was, although it must be hard to play someone like Ted Bundy in the movie, you know, because I don't even know like what was going through Zac Efron's mind when he took this role, you know, like what this role did for him. I don't know. I think that playing Ted Bundy might be just as bad as playing the Joker, you know, because Ted Bundy was a real life monster, guys. He was a monster in the flesh. So I think that, you know, Zac played him really well, but maybe he was even haunted a little bit afterwards once the movie was over.
This is about catching a monster.
I wish I could take it all back.
I think that this is a very good example of you making a movie about a serial killer who was known for utterly disgusting and despicable violent acts, you know, but not show any of it in the movie, you know, because there was a lot of bureaucracy behind Ted Bundy's life, you know. Once he started his killing spree, he was sent to court, he was arrested many times, he was tried for this and that, but he was actually a law student, and despite being such a heinous serial killer of innocent women, he was a surprisingly intelligent guy, you know. And it's unfortunate that he wasted all of this brain power doing what he did, but anyway, it showed a lot of him trying to sort of defend himself in court. You know, he acted as his own attorney, and he managed to sort of turn things around for a while. This guy was found guilty, but he stayed a good 10 years or so, you know, just going from prison to prison, courtroom to courtroom, and this and that until he was finally executed in the 1980s. So I think that the way that he evaded capture was due to this, you know, due to his intelligence. And also he escaped twice, I believe. And every time he escaped, he killed more people. So it's like he was smart, but at the same time he was very stupid, because if you were arrested for a crime and you somehow managed to escape, why are you going to commit the same crime again in the area that you escaped from? You know, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Ted Bundy was a crazy guy, you know. He had this killing boner that made no sense at all, you know. A lot of people think that it was because of his ex-girlfriend, you know, a certain girlfriend who rejected him, and then he started killing girls who looked just like her, you know, out of revenge or something. And I think that he had a tumor in his brain that kind of blocked his sense of empathy, so he couldn't really feel anything, any emotion, you know. He would kill without any regard for human life at all. This guy was dangerous. And in this movie, it shows us a lot of the sort of like the emotional turmoil, the psychological issues that plagued Liz Parr as she was going through this, you know, in love with a man who was, you know, more and more obviously guilty of all the crimes that he committed, but she was still in denial because she loved this guy, you know, she really wanted to be with him. So she didn't want to believe, you know, that he was so guilty, even though he was. And of course, at some point, the evidence is so in her face that she has to let him go. The ending of the movie is extremely chilling. It is a very good ending because Ted Bundy, if you guys don't know, to the very last day of his life, he denied doing everything that he did, you know, even when it was painfully obvious that he was guilty. He only confessed when he was literally on the electric chair, about to die, about to get fried. That's when he confessed to killing all of these girls, you know. And in the movie, there was a particular scene at the end where Liz Parr is trying to get closure from Ted, you know. There was a girl who was found with her head cut off in the woods, you know. At this point, she already knows that it was Ted, but he was still denying it, you know, up until the last moment, where he reveals that it was actually him. But the way that he does it was very, very, very intricately done, because he kind of blows on the glass in front of me. He's talking to Liz in prison through the glass on the phone. He blows a little bit of air on the glass, and then he writes with his finger the word hacksaw. And you see his face like all dark and moody, you know, expressionless, looking at her. Then she just storms out of there. That was so chilling. That actually gave me goosebumps, you know. That really gave me goosebumps. That scene was so well done, you know. And like the coldness that you can see in Zac Efron's expression, you know. Very, 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 very well shot. I love that scene so much, you know. This is a movie done right, guys. There was also a very good performance by the actress Kaya, I don't know how to say her name, Kaya Scolidiero, the chick from the Maze Runner series. She played Carol Ann Boone, who at one point was actually married to Ted Bundy while he was still in prison. I think that this woman is probably crazier than Charles Manson because, I mean, you know that this guy is guilty. You know that he did all of these things, and somehow she was attracted to him to the point of marrying him and having a daughter with him. I don't even know what was going through this woman's mind, but how can you be a human being walking this earth knowing that your father is the late Ted Bundy? Like what was going through your mother's head when she conceived you with Ted Bundy, you know? I think I'm more scared of Carol Ann Boone than Ted Bundy, because how can you marry someone like Bundy? I mean, you have to be really stupid. So like, I don't know, okay? Then again, there was another girl who married Charles Manson when he got out of prison. I don't know, human beings are just retarded, okay? I don't know, but anyway, Very good performance by Kaya as Carol in the movie, and we see a lot of the process behind, you know, Bundy's trials. There was even a reenactment of a scene where he comes out of the elevator to see his indictment, you know, and they really did a good job of replaying these scenes, you know. But it's a lot more than just reenacting scenes from Bundy's actual experiences, you know. We see a lot of stories happening behind the scenes, you know, like Bundy's relationship with Liz, you know. I don't know how much of what we see in the movie was fabricated and how much was actually based in real life, but it was still really good to see this, you know, to see like an almost humane side of Ted Bundy, if there even was one somewhere deep inside his black heart, you know. If Bundy had a human side at all, it was displayed a little bit in this movie here. Well, the interesting thing about Bundy while he was alive is that he was on actually very good terms with Liz Parr. You know, he was able to treat her very well and be a kind, loving gentleman to her, a boyfriend. I don't know if one point they were ever married. And yet, when he left the house, he went on to kill all of these innocent young girls, man, who did nothing to him at all. And then he could come home with a smile on his face and pretend that there was nothing wrong when he was with Liz, you know? It made no sense. It really did not make any sense, you know? Like I think that if Bundy, if he hadn't chosen this life of horrible crime, he could have been one hell of an actor. Because this guy was able to convince so many people that he was innocent for so long, you know? And unfortunately, a lot of innocent girls had to die before he was finally caught and executed. And yeah, the movie, guys, the movie that I'm talking about, you know, it's a very good way of depicting Bundy. It shows you a lot of what happened in his life. But when you get behind the scenes, when you, like, the movie is made for entertainment, you know, it's just there to entertain you. But when you know the actual story behind it, when you go to research or when you watch a documentary about it, you feel cold. You know, it makes it chills me down to my core when I read about the things that Bundy did, you know, and his lack of empathy for all of these, you know, all of these innocent poor girls, man, who did nothing to anyone. You know, they were just trying to help him sometimes, because he would pretend that he had his arm in a sling, or he was carrying something heavy, or he dropped his books. They would just come over to help him, you know, innocently. Then he would just murder them cold-heartedly, you know. I just can't imagine a human being doing this. I really can't imagine it, you know. But the movie, despite what it's about, despite the source material behind it, it was still a very good movie. Remember, this is just a piece of entertainment, okay? So it doesn't matter if the movie's good or bad. It's just entertainment, okay? So don't take what I'm saying the wrong way, you know. The movie had no depictions at all of violence, except for one scene where he hits a girl in the head with a crowbar and knocks her out. Other than that, there are no depictions of violence. But it's hard for me to watch because, like, I know what it's about. I know what happened, you know. I know what's been going on behind, you know, what we're seeing in the movie. But it's still very well done. So, yeah.
You have been witness to the unspeakable horrors of the defendant's heinous crimes. You have seen ghastly injuries, smashed in faces, broken jaws.
We see a lot of scenes of Bundy in incarceration, you know, and we see the character development that Zac Efron brings to the table. We see that Bundy is more and more, like, you know, manipulative. He's trying to convince people that he's not guilty, as he really actually did in real life. And we see a lot of that being mirrored through Zac Efron's performance. You know, we see a lot of it being shown. And that's why I think that Zac, like, I don't really think that Zac could have been the best choice for this role, but he still did a really good job of depicting Bundy, you know, and it can't be easy to depict someone like Ted Bundy in a movie or a TV show. So I really think that there's a lot to be said, you know. And I think that it might actually be a very underrated movie. I don't think it got a lot of really good reviews, but I really liked it. You know, I liked it a lot, you know. And it's definitely recommended, you know. I do believe it's still on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it is. So if you guys want to check it out, go ahead. If you're curious enough, you know, you can also watch the documentary about Ted Bundy, also on Netflix, you know. But the movie and the Netflix and the series, they kind of go hand in hand. The movie with the documentary, you know. So very interesting too. And it's good to raise awareness. You know, if you're a young single woman, you know, I think it's good for you to know about Ted Bundy. So I really hate kids. So it's good for you to know a little more about people like Ted Bundy, you know, because, like, if you're a young, attractive woman and you happen to be walking around the streets at night, like, a Ted Bundy could be lurking anywhere, you know, to get you. So it's good to raise awareness so you could be more careful around men. Not that all men are hideous monsters like Ted Bundy, but it's just good to raise awareness, you know, to make a young woman be more careful around people in general, all right? So I think that it's a very good cautionary tale, you know, to know about Ted Bundy. In general, very good movie. The atmosphere was very dark and brooding in some points, but also a little more upbeat and lighthearted, you know, like sort of like in The Calm Before the Storm. Because as you watch the movie, you know what's going on. You know what Ted has been doing off camera, let's say, you know. So it's like they really like bring these moments together. They mesh them up in a way, and at the very end, there's a really good payoff. You know, there is. Liz Parr gets her closure. She has now, she's already with someone else, you know, and her daughter. So I think that she really is able to let Ted Bundy go, you know. So very good movie. Very, very good movie. I think it's very, very, I don't even know how else I can describe it. No, it's very entertaining, very nice. And solid performances by the cast, you know, good soundtrack where the music gets a little somber in some points, you know. Set pieces were very well designed. Everything about the movie is nice, you know. I would go on to say it's pretty much flawless, you know. I'd probably give the movie a really good, solid, well-deserved 10 out of 10, you know, very good movie. And I think that's it, you know. I just wanted to let you guys know what I thought about it, all right? I totally recommend it, and I think that's really it. If you guys have seen the movie, you know, if you have already seen it before watching this video, or if you watched it after seeing this video and want to maybe drop a comment or two so we can open up a little debate, you know, you're totally welcome to. And yeah, I guess that's it really. That's it for now, guys, all right? Please, please, women of the world, be careful, all right? You know, take care of yourselves, all right? Try to not walk around alone at night in certain places, okay? Just please be careful, because you never know who might be lurking around the corner, all right? And don't just blindly trust the first man you meet, okay? Take Ted Bundy as an example, you know. Don't ever trust anyone at first sight. Follow your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, just run, okay? It doesn't matter how awkward it's gonna feel, or, you know, just run, okay? Play it safe, all right? That's it. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and I will see all of you guys in the next video, as always.
The killings were extremely wicked. Shockingly evil, vile.
Did you do these things, Ted?
This is all gonna end.
It's only gonna end with the truth.